Welcome back. Well, Microsoft subsidiary Microsoft South Africa is to invest almost R500 million over the next 7 years into the local software industry as part of the company's broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Program. CNBC Africa's Godfrey Mutizwa asked company's managing director Mteto Nyati to tell us more about their decision to go the equity equivalent route.
We've decided to go the equity equivalent route precisely because as a part of a multinational company, in particular a US-based multinational, we do not sell equity in all of the countries that we're operating in. So this presented a challenge for us, and indeed we discussed with the government and they came up with a way that we can participate in BEE, which we were pleased. And that way we are coming in now. We will be putting foreign direct investment into South Africa, as opposed to be asking local players to be buying shares from us, meaning we'll be taking money out of South Africa.
I'm sure there'd have been people who would have been happy to buy Microsoft shares without a shade of doubt.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I see a lot of people very excited when they look at the potential of the company and the things that we're doing here. Many people would indeed be looking for that. But when you look at it, when you look at what we are doing, it actually going to be addressing much more the broad-based economic empowerment as opposed to having a few people buying Microsoft shares.
Was there pressure from the government to go the equity straight-out route?
There was discussions with government. Of course, they are not closed people, and they're looking at ways to make sure that all of the people participate. They were trying to have the consistency, but when they realized the reality, and they looked for ways and means to help us.
So let's look at the detail of what you're going to do. What exactly will you be doing with this program? You're talking about a period of 7 years.
Yes. What we'll be doing is that we'll be selecting Black-owned small IT companies, help those companies to become global companies. But those companies need to be operating in areas that are priority to the South African government. What by that I mean things like healthcare, education, safety and security, and indeed, you know, in South Africa we're using mobile phones, so people who provide software around that space will be supporting them.
Now, Microsoft is a global name, and you are endorsing the Black Economic Empowerment Program. Now, we know it's a controversial program in some parts of the world, but your endorsement sends out a wider message to the world. But for Microsoft, what is the significance of you supporting BEE?
The significance of us is that as a company, we want to do the right things. So wherever we operate, we want to be in line with the laws of those countries. So that's the one thing. But the other thing, what we're seeing here is a huge potential to make a difference in a country like South Africa. We know where we're coming from, and we understand the intent of BEE. We would like to be part of that journey to help transform this country.
That is in South Africa. Now, of course, Microsoft operates throughout the world. So for the rest of Africa, what would you be doing similar perhaps to what you're doing here?
You see, the mandate that we have been given is that whatever we're doing with these companies, let's make sure that it is not limited to South Africa. Right. Let's help these companies to address the challenges of Africa, and secondly, broadly, let's help them to address the challenges of emerging markets. Okay. So in this way, our view is that we'll be helping these companies to address a number of African countries.
So is there a specific plan for the rest of Africa, or it will just have to flow from the work that you're doing here in South Africa?
No, the work that we're doing here in South Africa is it. Yeah, because now we are addressing the South African laws, and this it, but the mandate is that let's make sure that we address the rest of the continent.
Have you had demands from other parts of Africa for similar type deals and for similar type transactions where you help the local business sector to try to go the IT services sector?
No, we have not had any discussions like that. No, not at all.
I'm sure you've been watching developments across the border in Zimbabwe where the government is demanding that foreign-owned companies transfer 51% of their equity to Black Zimbabweans. Yes. Has that demand been made to you guys?
It has not been made to us, but as we can see, it is the law of the land there, so that's how they are choosing to operate. So right now, we do not have an office in Zimbabwe. Right. So at the time when we plan to have an office in Zimbabwe, we see the opportunity, we'll probably have to comply with the law of the land.
But in terms of the message that it sends to international investors like yourself, what kind of a message, though, do you think it sends? Because the Zimbabwean situation is slightly different, because you have a government that is saying, we want you to transfer 51%. In other words, majority control of the company passes on to someone who has not put money into the venture. Yes. For a foreign investor like yourself, would you be looking at Zimbabwe, say, or a country that is making those kind of demands?
Look, that thing, to me, as a person, as an individual looking at it, sure. It looks to me is something that is not attractive. It is not attractive. When you look at it, the foreign direct investment, most countries are competing to get a FDI. And to put conditions like that, it's like you are in demand, and yet Zimbabwe needs a lot of FDI. So my sense is that I don't think they are creating a very conducive environment to attract FDI.
Yeah. Now, globally, we've seen IT companies beginning to report results that look to be improving. The suggestion has been made that we're beginning to see traction gaining momentum in the global economy, and therefore we're seeing companies spending more on technology. What are you seeing in Africa?
In fact, what we are seeing in Africa is quite interesting. If you look last year, the entire global economy was going in the wrong direction. If you look at the results that our operations had in Africa, we grew. And I believe it's largely, this deal is also influenced by the fact that people are seeing that this continent is a growth potential. You know, that's why Microsoft is easily giving us this investment, because, you know, there's huge potential in Africa to make a difference.